everyone. Well, here we are. We've done it. This is Hobby Nonsense, the podcast that Mike. That's enough. I am not in the studio alone. So this is going to be their first episode of the Hobby Nonsense podcast. We are welcoming all of you to this fresh start of a non-sport / collectible podcast that talks about everything from new products that are coming out to things you cared about as a kid to things you didn't even know you knew or didn't know you needed to know about. That's hard to say with a lot of ends, so I'm not gonna lie to you. But if you don't know anything about cards, stay tuned. We're going to teach you a little bit about it as well. But this is really supposed to be something fun for everybody, not just the casual collector, not just the guy who's been collecting every day of his life, but anybody who listens. Hopefully you can find some entertainment in what's going on this podcast. My name is Jesse Gibson. I am one of the hosts of another podcast called Sports Cards Nonsense. And what I found from doing that podcast for the last 4 years is that while I came for the sports, I stayed for the non-sport and everything else. So that being the case, there's been a lot of demand because we don't talk much non-sport on that podcast. And so there's been a lot of demand for what's going on in the non-sport side of the world because there are a lot of new developments. There's a lot of new products coming out. But there's also a lot of vintage stuff, a lot of old stuff that guys still collect and chase and care about. So this podcast has stemmed from the desire to know more and to get more regular updates on that side of the world. So again, we thank you for listening. There'll be more things to come. This is our first episode, but that's enough about me. Well, actually, I didn't really say anything about me other than the other podcast, but that's enough about me. I want to introduce our co-host for today and possibly forever. We're going to see how all this goes. So far, I like him a lot. His name, oh God,
Get it out.
I know.
Come on,
I was going to start. His actual legal name is Michael Midgette, and they just call him Midgette. I feel uncomfortable saying it, but that's what we're going to do. Midgette, how the heck are you, man? Welcome to the pod.
I'm feeling a little short today.
I'm
good. Yeah, had to go ahead and get it out in the open.
I don't know. Do you have kids? Are you married or anything? Okay. So
I would love to have them. It hasn't worked out for me.
Well, you've already gotten practice with the dad joke, so you'll be ready for that.
Yeah,
if it doesn't work out.
I mean, luckily I've got nieces and nephews. I got plenty of munchkins running around, so it's all good.
Well, hey, thank you for coming on. And this is an interesting thing because what you guys are hearing is, your introduction to Mike and possibly even myself. But this is also me and Mike's real first introduction, at least in person. We've actually never met and only talked a couple of times via text and phone up until now. But yeah, you are a collector of non-sports, but you're a guy who visits our local card shop, Shep's, quite often. Tell him how you heard about what I was doing here.
Well, my introduction came from being at Shep's and then Sports Card Nonsense and then the sister page, Non-Sports Nonsense, and just interacting with you, talking with you a couple times with some vintage Marvel cards, boxes that I came across.
Which I'll admit, when Shep told me about you, I felt really bad because I know you and I had talked online before, but I never made the connection that, this guy that I'm now texting is the same guy I was messaging on Facebook or something like that before. So
it's all good.
I felt bad.
Don't feel bad.
Okay, I won't.
I mean, you're not the one that had to grow up with the last name Midgette, so...
Yeah. I can't imagine that's the easiest thing to do. As a large child myself, I know that kids are pretty relentless for anything that makes you different. I can only imagine that was something similar.
Oh, very much so. Until the growth spurt hit and you're bigger than everybody else, taller, and you just happen to have a really bad last name for a kid.
Well, I think it's a great last name for an adult because it's a great conversation starter.
True. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall and 270 pounds. So yeah, I mean, the name definitely doesn't fit the picture. So
well, what's funny too, I think I mentioned this on the other pod when introducing this one to tell everyone about. When we started that other podcast, my other co-host on there is also named Mike.
He's a real midget.
He's not 6 foot. We'll just say that he's a little less than that. And when we started that one, I was just producing, and it was going to be him and another guy, and they were going to call it Midget and the Ogre, which is funny because I'm actually bigger than you, so technically I am an ogre in comparison. So it's like Midget and the Ogre 2.0.
As long as you don't call me Donkey, we're okay.
No, never. That is an insult beyond insults. So what about your collecting experience? How did you get into collecting?
So I guess I would say that big part of me collecting comes from my childhood. Was not an easy childhood growing up, obviously last name, other outside factors. And so my escape was comic books, cartoons, toys, sports, just anything I could delve into to take my mind away from the garbage that was going on around me. And I kind of held on to it. I mean, the happy parts of my childhood are what I hold on to when it comes to that. And it's always fun to go back and look at stuff that I collected as a kid, or it may bring back a memory of something that was going on at that point in time.
Yeah. So you got like an emotional connection to this stuff.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. That's what we wanted. I don't know. When thinking about starting this non-sport podcast, it was like, okay, yeah, we can talk about new releases all day, but it's like, what else do you talk about? And that's what I found, at least for me personally, that seems to resonate with a lot of others, is that there is some kind of emotional connection to this. Not to say that it's not the same with sports too, but I don't know. Like I don't feel the same personally looking at a sports card as I do like a beautiful piece of artwork from, say, like a Star Wars Galaxy or something like that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different aspects to the non-sport world that I think resonate with collectors, no matter what your genre of collection is. We talked about that a little bit before this. In fact, that's one of the things that I think this pod will hopefully help to do, is help other people that aren't into sports but could be into literally anything else in the world get into the card space, because that is something that I think it's a lot of fun, not only to chase your cards, to find those things, but then to, once you found, say, the like we're going to talk about the president, the night from 1933. Actually, I don't even know what the year he is. Once you find that presidential card that you were chasing, or once you find that Mickey Mouse original card that you were chasing, or one of the 1800s tobacco cards that you were chasing, like all of these things, they end up meaning something pretty deep. And then, of course, showing it off and bragging to everybody helps a lot too. So
who doesn't like to go to brag camp?
Well, we're going to be going there shortly, because I saw that little case of yours. That Zion box over there may or may not hopefully hold a few of your own personal treasures. We'll find out.
This is the beauty about a Grail. A Grail is especially in non-sports, is very subjective. What is a Grail to me may not be a Grail to you or to other collectors, but it's a Grail to somebody.
Absolutely.
And, so it's, you touched on it with the artwork and stuff like that. Non-sports cards, it doesn't matter. It can be anything from TCG to Mickey Mouse to presidents to sports cars it's just such broad of a spectrum when it comes to subject matter, that there literally is something for everybody.
Well, let's, with that in mind, get into a little bit of specifics on non-sport cards. So there is going to be the subject matter. We are going to get into Grails, but before that, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on today. So today, some of the releases that we are seeing, and one of the reasons this podcast was even really pushed more, I think, was because of the fact that you see Topps, which is now known for being the largest sports, or just the largest card company in the world, really. I mean, Topps is synonymous with sport, or with cards. I actually was doing a search before this show because something triggered a memory in my brain from when I was in elementary school. There was a kid named Jarvis Topps, and his last name was Topps. And he would always tell me, like, he had a cousin who played for the Toronto Raptors. And I was like searching Topps and Toronto Raptors. You cannot find a person's name when you Google search that, you will only find Topps cards. And so it's become so synonymous that even if when I plugged it into AI, I was like, was there anyone named Topps they're like, oh, you must be mistaken. Topps is a card brand. I'm like, no, it's a name too. So anyways, that being said, now that Topps came out January 1 of 2025 with licensing for Disney, Pixar, for Marvel, and of course continuing with their Star Wars licensing, plus the fact that they're adding WWE, which that's a whole nother topic of is wrestling a sport or not. That we'll get into that. But yeah, with that being the case, it's on a lot of people's minds. The release of 2024 Topps Chrome Marvel and Topps Chrome Disney that came out in the UK, that inevitably got here to the States and was pretty popular and still is pretty popular among many collectors. That it's showing that not only is there's a big vintage non-sport market, but there's still a very large and growing sport market today for modern cards. So that leads us to what was released on, was it January 1? Was it Wednesday? Yeah, on January 1 was the release of Topps Genesis. So this was an online only release. It didn't go out to breakers or anything like that. And this was a limited event where it's a box set of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars licensed cards. There's 100 characters in this thing. There's already a checklist out there of all the characters. In fact, I pulled it up. Okay, so they did do this. So they did 20 characters from the Marvel movies. They did 20 characters from X-Men specifically, which I found interesting. Then they did 20 characters from Pixar, 20 characters from, it looks like, Disney, and then 20 characters from Star Wars. And you've got the gamut, but for the most part, if it's a popular character in that genre, they're probably in it. But what's nice is that they're only going to be numbered to 99. That's like, there's not a base card that's not serialized, is my understanding. They're all numbered, and the highest numbering is 99. The issue comes when, and I hate to critique this, but it has to be talked about at least so we can hopefully avoid this in the future. When Topps made this release, it was a little different from what I noticed when I was trying to get access to the Marvel and Disney products out of the UK, because how I ended up getting it was actually through connections with people who are card stores in the UK. So that's how I ended up getting it. But how you initially got it was another public release. However, they had security measures through the site where it basically prevented anyone from going on there and using bots to block everyone else from getting cards and to basically fill their carts with as much of the product that they could and then go and buy it before anyone else could. So there was steps taken so that wasn't going to be the case for anyone. I think the max you could get was like 2 boxes of something. Now with Topps Genesis, they released it and they had both individual boxes and 10-box cases available for sale. It was $100 for a box, $1,000 for a case. And you could, there was nothing saying there was a limit to how many you could get. I still have not seen anyone post a limit. I went in there and tried to buy multiple. As soon as I clicked on the case, it said sold out. So the cases were gone. And I was on there at, I think it released at noon Eastern time on January 1. And it was gone. But then so I was like, all right, add boxes, right? I'm trying to get a few of these boxes. And I'm like, oh, I added a box. Oh, let me do quantity 5 on there. It's like updating and then updating. And then
spinny wheel.
That's all I was getting, man. I got the clock of doom and I was just waiting. And it wasn't just me. I had me, my wife's phone, and we were actually on our way to a brunch it was like a New Year's Day brunch. So we were on our way to a brunch with friends. And so we had a couple other people in the car. I was like, guys, I need you on this right now. So they had their phones out. 4 of us were out there trying to do this at noon Eastern time on New Year's Day. And not one of us could get through because the traffic shut down the site because there weren't the precautions in place. Inevitably, the idea is that there are a number of bots that ended up getting this. So whoever paid for those bots, I'm sure some breakers out there on whatnot, if I had to guess. But there are people that got product. And have you seen what the resale is on this? Like granted, it doesn't even get shipped, I think, till the end of March. But the resale on a box is going somewhere around $500 to $600. It's sold for $100 on the site, and it's going for $500 to $600 on eBay right now. And
FOMO is real.
Oh, 100% is real. And it is, I don't know what it'll end up being. You would imagine like some of that is going to come down over the next couple of months, but that's even before anyone ever gets their hands on the card. So do you see another spike when the card actually gets to someone's hands? I don't know. So in the future, Topps, and here's the thing, I'm saying this as someone who wishes they had 10 cases in their cart and was able to check out. I wasn't able to do that. And I think the only fair thing to do would be to instill some of those same, precautions that they have on other sites where you can't have bots and you can't have someone who buys up the majority of the product or whatever the case is, so that other people can't get their hands on it if it's going to be a public release like this. Now, granted, if you're going to sell it to breakers, give me all of it and no one else any of it. That would be fine as well.
Makes perfect sense.
That's another subject to get into at another time. But I break on Fanatics Live under the Sports Cards Nonsense channel. If you guys are into non-sports breaks, I'm going to go ahead and give a plug there, because guess what? Unlike our other podcast, this is again the first episode. None of this is paid for. I'm paying for all of the editing and the clips and all that stuff out of my own pocket until someone decides they want to, throw a couple sawbucks this way. What's a sawbuck again? I use my other mic for that information usually, so I apologize. I didn't mean to put you on the spot on sawbuck.
No, you're
knowledge.
fine.
But anyways, that being said, that was the Topps Genesis release. There's more to come. There's a lot of other releases to come, but I wanted to move on to Grail cards. So you reached out and said this was one of the topics you wanted to talk about. Why did you want to talk about Grail cards?
It's always fascinated me what others look for. And like I mentioned earlier, Grail is subjective. For me, my Grails are 1992 X-Men Series 1.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite card design.
Yeah.
It was my favorite release. I am hunting a Master Set PSA 10.
How
trying to build it.
Are you in this hunt? I can't imagine.
I have one.
I was gonna say there's no way that's an easy collectible.
For me, part of the fun is always the hunt. So it's easy to go shows or go online and buy one that's already graded. I, however, has set the goal of I want to pull the cards that I grade, and then I will grade them.
Now, this is from the Impel set from 92?
Yes. Okay. I chose that set, one, favorite card design. Two, it's a low set number.
Oh, is it? How many are in there?
101 base cards.
Oh, okay.
One of those cards was exclusive to the sealed 10.
Okay.
So that is the only technical numbered card because only 4,000 complete 10s were made. So there are only 4,000 of that card out there.
Yeah.
So it's the hardest one to come by. Finally got my hands on sealed 10 a couple weeks ago. So fingers crossed. I get the most difficult card. Not yet.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But the cool thing about the sealed 10s were they came with the entire base set.
Yeah.
And all 5 holograms. So there are also uncirculated cards. They were never packed in. Generally, your best chances of getting a 10 from those earlier comic card releases for the holograms are going to be from those sealed 10s. Another grail of mine that I also recently picked up sealed.
Before you go to it, how much was that 10? I'm just curious.
Man, they range in price. I've seen them go for as high as $300-400 at one point, and even higher during the COVID boom.
Sure.
But for me, I don't care. At the end of the day, it's not about the resale value for me as a collector. It's, do I feel comfortable paying that price for that item? Gotcha. And if it's something that I feel comfortable in paying for it, cool.
Yeah.
Grandparents always said something's only worth as much as somebody's willing to pay for it. Well, if I'm willing to pay for it, that makes it worth it to me. So
there you go. Okay.
but also acquired a 1990 Marvel Series 1 Seal 10. Those are serial numbered, etched into the bottom of the 10s. So again, uncirculated, complete set with the holograms. And, we talk about Grails.
Yeah.
A lot of people love collecting the holograms from the 90s. They're still collectible.
Mm-hmm.
The 1990 Marvel Universe Series 1 was the first set of holograms, to my knowledge. May be wrong, and if I am, please correct me. But they were also the only set that Impel did where the card was on the very front of the pack with the hologram facing outward. So whenever that pack was handled, extremely easy to scuff this hologram on the card. So surface issues. There was also a sticker. Yeah, it was also a sticker on the face of the card. The hologram was. So centering is extremely difficult. I think only one of the 5 has a pop count higher than 9.
Really?
So they're all low pop counts for 10s, and it's hard to come across those in really high grade. So for me, that to me would constitute a grail.
I gotcha.
And so that's why I collect them, and also I'm a comic nerd. Artwork nerd.
Yeah.
And so it's just the best of everything right there.
Do you have a big comic collection as well?
I wouldn't say I have a huge comic collection, but I do have a large collection. Yes.
When you say, what does that mean? How many comic books would you estimate? Or unless you know the exact
I have over 10,000 comics.
Hang on. You don't think you have like a big collection, but you have over 10,000 comics? What's a big collection?
Well, I know several people that have much, much, much larger collections. A whole garage dedicated to their collection.
Really?
Mine's not. Mine's a little corner in my house.
Yeah.
I have about between 10 to 13 long boxes of books.
Yeah.
And that's just stuff that's not my key collection or my artwork collection. I primarily collect 3 particular artists, my 3 favorite artists.
Yeah.
And then certain key issues from when I was a kid.
Okay.
I have an affinity for 1980s and early 90s cartoon comic books, first issues. So the Real Ghostbusters issue 1 from I think it was First Comics was the publisher on it. Not a huge publisher, but not an easy book to come by in a newsstand. It's one of my favorites in my collection.
Wow.
So
that's a whole nother episode to talk about more.
Yeah, we can get that
stuff,
later.
But that's insane to me. And that's one of the reasons why when Shep told me a little bit about you and what you get into, that's why I wanted to talk to you specifically about some of the things you collect. And now when you brought up the Grail thing, it was like, I wanted to make sure I was up to date, because it's like, when you say Grail, like you said, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people in the non-sport world. Like you gave the example before we started the show. You said how if someone asked if the 1952 mantle is a Grail card, it's 52, right?
That's 52 Topps mantle.
This is the non-sport podcast, people. All right, leave me alone. If someone asked if that's a Grail card, of course, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone asked if the Jordan rookie is a Grail card, of course, that's a Grail card. But when it comes to this, I wanted to see if there was any more consensus when we put it out to the Facebook group. Now, there is I think it was mentioned earlier, the non-sport cards nonsense group. It's called non-sport cards nonsense. It's like sports cards nonsense, but with a non in there. It's, in fact, I think by the time this episode comes out, because we're recording this on a Monday and the plan is to release it on Wednesday mornings, I think we'll have 50,000 members in that non-sport group, which is awesome. It's really cool to see how much that group has grown. And when I posted this, it got a ton of interaction. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I made the same post a week prior.
Here's the thing. I put that little blue check mark right next to my name. I think that gives it a little extra attention.
True. I mean, it is also a little difficult to trust a guy named Midgette. I understand.
That guy's got a fake account. That can't be a real name. No. So when I put this post out, I put a card that I actually have, and then another card beside it, just trying to attract attention. I put the 1966 Batman, which that's the card I have.
Dude, that in your post, that card actually came up multiple times for the Grail. And I agree 100%. The 66 Batman, a high grade, easily.
I was going to ask you what you thought, because I consider that a Grail card as well. Again, that depends on, again, who you are. But I was happy to see that multiple other people also mentioned that one. Now, if you're not familiar, maybe there's a graphic going on the screen right now if you're watching this on Instagram or TikTok, but it's a Batman with a red background behind it and the bat signal up in the top left corner. And anyway, it's a very iconic card in the non-sport world, and it's very hard to get anything high grade in that because the age of it, how it was sent out in boxes, and it just was easy to get dinged up and all that stuff. So I think mine is like an SGC 3.5 or something like that. Like I'm happy with that, because I think even a 3.5, I think goes for like $500, something like that. So it's got some value to it, but it also means something to me because I was a big Batman. I had Batman action figures growing up. That was something that meant a lot. But alongside it, I also put one of the, I think it was like 1950s, 1959, maybe, Three Stooges. It was like a curly card. Yes. I know that this is a very popular card. It's hard to get good grades in this one as well. But I that one, to me, I don't know if I would necessarily say that is a Grail card, but it is to some people. I know some people love the Three Stooges and they love some of that older TV, and they collect some of the cards from those sets. But it got the attention from enough people to where it's like, okay, there are people that are collecting this actively still trying to find these, but the amount of cards that were named that I agree with, that I just didn't even think about, was actually, I was kind of shocked. And I'm kind of curious to see what were some of the ones that were named that you would agree with, or maybe just completely disagree with.
I mean, for me, I 100% agree with the 66 Batman.
Okay.
And again, I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
It was mentioned multiple times by multiple people. One that really caught my eye, and I'm not a Disney collector by any means, but there was a 1935 Whitman Mickey Mouse old maid card.
Yeah.
And a very high grade. That's the thing about vintage cards. Doesn't matter if it's sports or non-sports. You have to keep in mind that in that era, it was kids getting those cards.
Yeah.
That's the awesome thing about, high grade vintage sports cards. They were used in bicycles to create motorcycle sounds on the wheel spokes. So, you're not going to find that stuff. So it's easier, I guess, to define a vintage Grail and amongst collectors,
you're right, yeah,
than modern Grails. And I guess it needs to be mentioned, there are differences between vintage and modern Grails. And a lot of it has to go with the valuation of the cards. We kind of touched on it in a conversation earlier when it was about sports cards, but it's a weird market when it comes to that. Whether you're in the hobby to collect, as I am, or you're in the hobby as an investment, which, that's another great thing about the hobby right now. I mean, back when I was a kid, non-sports cards weren't a big investment like sports cards were.
Even among kids, you didn't see many kids. Like, kids had sports cards, but it was much rarer to see kids with non-sport card collections.
Exactly.
And just to be clear, I think you said you graduated in 2000, is that right? So you're only 5 years older than me. So you're still, we were kids of the 80s, you grew up a little bit in the 80s and then into the 90s. And that was kind of the same thing for me. That's what I find a lot of our listeners, at least on the SCN pod, that's the age range a lot of us are. And looking back at nostalgia and wanting to, find pieces of that and grab a hold of it and collect for ourselves. And it's like, okay, what is my Grail card from the 1980s, 90s as a kid from that area versus someone who may have been born in the 60s or something like that? they could be different, but I find it interesting too. Like there's a guy who I want to bring on the pod who is actually we've had on the other one a number of times. His name's Ryan Nolan. He is very knowledgeable when it comes to non-sport cards, but I feel like he has got such a large collection of like real figures. And that's another thing I like about the non-sport classification is these are presidential figures specifically. He has a not only a large knowledge of these, but I think he's got a decent collection as well. And it was him and a few others that pointed out the 1932 U.S. caramel presidents, which was the specific one was the William McKinley card. I had no idea that this was such a chase, but I would swear at least 4 or 5 maybe different posts about that specific card. Had you ever heard of that one before?
I honestly had not. I mean, obviously, presidents historical significance.
Sure.
But I just, when it comes to me collecting, I don't collect it. But now, obviously, with this opportunity that's in front of us, it's one of those things. It's like, well, time to learn and read up on other products.
And that's what I think is cool too. Is like, now that you've said something about it, now I got to know more about it, right?
Exactly.
And that's why that one specifically, I did find out a little bit more information. And someone even mentioned this in comments, but I found that what's interesting about that card set in general, it's a very sought after card set. There's not a ton of cards. I believe there's 31 cards or something. Or the reason why it's confusing is because they consider this set complete at 30 cards without the William McKinley. And that's what makes it interesting is that William McKinley is so rare that technically there's 31 cards in the set, but it's just, you don't find it as often. And the reason for that was apparently the William McKinley was a card where if you got it, you could send it into the company and they would send you out like a pound of chocolate, like, which, 1932, you got to think that's not cheap or easy to come by. So they're sending you out a pound of chocolate for this, and they would send you, apparently they'd send you back the card with like a hole poked through it or something like that. So you couldn't just keep redeeming it. But that is one of the reasons why it's so rare is because if people got it, they were redeeming the card versus the ones who actually held on to one in good shape. And now I believe someone said like you can go up into the 5 figures for that card, which
I wouldn't doubt it.
Again, for the non-sport card world, we will talk about ones that go for millions of dollars. We know
The One Ring.
Yeah, most of you have heard of some of those, but for some of these cards from 1930s presidential cards, for them to go into the 5 figures is not a small feat. So yeah, that one was one of the ones that caught me off guard. I had not heard of. Any others that came out to you?
I mean, there was some representation from the TCG community. I mean, obviously, Magic the Gathering, Black Lotus Alpha, high grade. That's the big one for Magic the Gathering, aside from the One Ring.
Yeah.
Anybody who's paid attention to modern non-sports knows about the One Ring and Post Malone, and
which that's like a whole different thing to me. Because like, what's funny is I would consider that the Black Lotus a Grail of its own kind, not a vintage Grail, but a more modern Grail card for a lot of collectors. But the One Ring, the fact that there's only one of them, there's only one person who's ever going to be able to collect it, right?
Correct.
So that, to me, also, does that constitute a Grail card if there's only one of them out there?
There was a comment in the thread about the Black Lotus, and it's something that I had never thought of either. Those alpha sets, there was not a specified print run, but if I'm remembering the comment correctly, it's expected that there was really no more than like 1,000 to 1,200 of those printed.
Really?
So it's a low population. I think a PSA 10 is still single digit pop.
Well, and you think
if not very, very low single digit pop.
This was before the era too, where there's a lot of people who were collecting for the sake of keeping it in great shape and not playing with it.
But it was played with.
Yeah.
That was at the very beginning of Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
They were not expensive to get. It wasn't until after the card got, if I'm not mistaken, got banned from play
Yeah.
and taken out of use that people started realizing, wait, there's really not that many of these, and condition is key. So
Mm-hmm. That was actually that card was, and to be specific, it's the 1993 Magic the Gathering limited edition alpha rare Black Lotus. I think it was graded as a CGC 10. That was the most expensive card sold in 2024. I think that's very telling of its Grail status. That card, which sold for $3 million, is actually something that's attainable, but it's not like so rare that only, again, like the one of one Lord of the Rings, the one ring that Post Malone has. Again, and that one too is like that was at the height of the market, or at least near the height of the market when that card got sold. Yes, it's very cool, and Lord of the Rings has a lot of a very large fan base, and rightly so. But I don't know. I do wonder if that would still do $2 million today, like it did back then. I maybe it would, but at the same time, I think like, oh well, I think that's a really cool card, and I'm really glad that sale happened. But I don't know if I would necessarily consider that a Grail.
Well, now you have the provenance of not only is it the one of one Lord of the Rings One Ring, but it's the one of one Lord of the Rings One Ring that was owned by Post Malone.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, if you're a music nerd, you don't even have to be a Lord of the Rings fan. It's like I own something that Post Malone owned. You know? So again, it goes back to the subjectivity of what is a Grail in this hobby.
Yep.
And so,
well, another one that seemed to be a large consensus, I saw this one maybe mentioned the most, was the 1940 Superman #1 card. I like scrolling through here. There's one, two, let's see, a third person just mentioned it. There's four. I'm seeing, and there's like literally almost 200 comments in here. That card comes up so often. I didn't even really consider that a Grail card. Again, I mean, but I at least knew of this one. I didn't know of the McKinley. I knew of this card, but I didn't realize just what kind of fan base it had. Were you familiar with that card at all?
I wasn't. It was actually a card that even as a comic and card nerd, I wasn't aware of the Superman set from that far back. So
I'm glad to know that I wasn't the only one in that case. Then, yeah, I actually meant to check beforehand. I'm going to check right now and see if I can find one of the most. Yeah, let's see. So a PSA 4 looks like that's the highest grade that was sold in 2024 of that card. Doesn't look like there's many of them out there. In fact, it says there's 22 as a pop 4, there's the pop is 22. The grade is 4, and it sold for $7,500 in 2024. So I mentioned what the Batman was a 3.5, and it sells for like $500-600 or something. Mm-hmm. That is a big card. If it's going for $7,500 as a 4, I can only imagine what it would go for in higher grades. So that's an interesting thing to find out more. That is a Grail for so many people. And then some of the more modern stuff, though, like, and I say modern, I guess closer to my time on Earth than some of these other ones we've been talking about. So the 1977 Star Wars, the Luke card, which was, no, it's not anymore because there's another card that just recently outsold it, but it was the highest selling non-sport card that wasn't a TCG. Because again, that's something that we'll get into at different times too. How some people don't necessarily consider TCG cards as non-sport cards, because non-sport, even though you would think that would just encompass all cards that are not sport cards, that's not really the case for some people. They don't necessarily view it that way.
I want to say the 77 Topps Luke Skywalker was actually eclipsed by the Hogan, wasn't it? Or no, the Hogan that recently sold was the highest selling wrestling card.
Yes. Yeah. That was
so it wasn't classified as a non-sport card.
So,
and even then it was only 6 figures.
Oh, was that all?
Yeah. Only 6 figures for a wrestling card,
which is, I mean, that's still like, that is a crazy thing that was it. The Hogan card though it wasn't a modern card though, right?
No,
it was one from,
I think it was actually one from Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It sold last year, right?
I think so. It was an early, like either late
I see it.
70s or early 80s.
1982, Wrestling All Stars, Hulk Hogan. It was graded a PSA 9, and it sold December 7th. So less than a month ago, sold for $132,000. Wow, that's incredible to me. It's also really cool to see that that market is growing as much as it is. Granted, that's another, again, this is where it's like we're starting this podcast and it's like, where do you go? Because there's so many different things to talk about. It's been hard to keep my ADD mind focused. So I told Midgette.
You got it.
Hard. I told Midgette before. I was just like, all right, these are the things I want to talk about, but I'm making it like I want to talk about all these other things at some point in the future. So, but yeah, the Hulk Hogan, I would say, to some people, I'm kind of surprised that didn't come up. Did you ever see it on that list of Grails?
I didn't see any wrestling come up on there.
See, and that gets to the question again.
Exactly. Is wrestling sport or non-sport card?
Listen, we're saving that to the end of the show. Okay. That we'll have our discussion then.
We could dedicate a whole show to that. A little teaser. I actually have trained. I did it. So I give you that perspective.
No, you did not.
It hurts.
No, you did not.
Yes, it hurts.
See,
the outcome may be predetermined, but man, you haven't lived until you've been in the ring and get punched by a man who's like 70 to 80 years old and just angry at the world and wants to take it out on you. And you just get punched in the face. And it's just like, yeah, okay, if you wince, you're not tough enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, that hurt.
So future episode, you're coming in a leotard in your wrestling.
I never wore tights.
Well, there's never.
I'm too big of a man to be wearing tights.
Listen, I'll wear my Buzz Lightyear onesie if you wear that. All right, and then we'll just do a whole episode. All right. Well, I think one other one I was just going to mention, and it has to be mentioned. I think when you're talking about Grail, again, this would be considered a modern Grail, but it's the 1999 Charizard, the Pokemon Charizard first edition, shadowless hollow. There's so many classifications you got to throw in there because that's the thing. There are different versions of that card, and people are like, "Oh, I've got that card. Oh, why don't you want to give me hundreds of thousands of dollars for it? Oh, it's not the first edition. Oh, it's not the shadowless. Oh, I didn't realize it had to be all of these things. Oh, and at the same time, perfect condition too. So that card though is probably one of the most iconic cards when someone says a Pokemon card, right? Like if you think Pokemon, Charizard, if you're not thinking Pikachu, you're probably thinking Charizard, and you're thinking of that one that has been in so many places. In Logan Paul has it hanging around his neck when it's not an Illustrator Pikachu card, and it's just a very synonymous with non-sport cards. But again, that's where you get into the argument: is that non-sport or is that TCG specific? We shouldn't categorize it there. But anyways, we'll get into that later. But it is a huge card, and it goes for, actually, let's see, what last year, what was the highest sell for a Charizard? Let's see. And I if anyone's wondering too, if you're new to this and you're wondering how is he finding the pricing on this, I use Card Ladder. They sponsor our other show. Maybe they want to sponsor this show. Who knows? But it's a great resource because they take in sales data from not only eBay sales, but many, many other auction houses as well. So, but it's showing August 21st of last year. There's one that sold in August 21st, and then there was one that sold October 1st. They both sold for a little over $350,000 as PSA 10s. So PSA 10s, Charizard base set first edition. Yeah, that's. Do you have Pokemon cards at all?
Yes,
you do. Okay. Anything valuable you think, or
man? Not at the moment. I actually pack pulled one of the modern Pokemon Grails, the Moonbryon.
Oh yeah,
and sent it off for grade. It came back a 10. And so it was awesome. It's always fun when you get the opportunity to do that. And, I parted with the card because I had a friend whose daughter was collecting, and he collected with her, and she had not been able to pull one of those yet. And it was one of the last cards they needed to complete that set. So he made a killer deal with me previously and gave me the better end of the deal. So I returned the favor and let it go for far less than I could have gotten for it. But
throw out numbers. Can you do that? Do you feel comfortable?
I feel comfortable with it. 500. I let it go for 500. That was more than I had into the card. Oh no, it was $1,000 card
at the time. Because that's the thing about that card. It wasn't always as high as it was, or what it is right now.
And I obviously I pack pulled it, so I paid $60 something for the ETB I pulled it out of, and I got a great deal on the ETB, and so I pulled the card and then I grade it and I don't get upcharged for it. So I didn't feel any seller's remorse from it whatsoever. And because again, when you're collecting, there are very few cards that I have a sentimental attachment to. Mm-hmm. So if for some reason I come across something that I would rather have in my collection, I will part with it. I have 2 cards in my entire collection, whether it be sports card, non-sports, that will never leave my collection whatsoever because they were gifted to me by my uncle from his personal collection for my 40th birthday. So they stay. They go nowhere.
Yeah.
And so
that's really cool.
But I mean, I buy Pokemon, bought a new one recently and had fun ripping it. So
that it was this Umbreon VMAX, aka Moonbreon, or whatever they want to call it. Yeah. So again, Pokemon is like it's not only its own episode, it'll be an ongoing topic on this pod. We will end up talking more about it, but one of the resources, in fact, someone just asked me yesterday, like, where do you go for pricing when it comes to TCGs specifically? Because while Cardlighter is great and it will have some of them on there, a non-graded site, a site where it features pricing for non-graded stuff, TCG Player. If you're new to this hobby, you're not familiar with it, it's a great resource. There are other good ones out there as well, but that's the one that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And it shows on here too, when that card first started getting ripped, or at least as far back as January, this graph goes back to beginning of January of 2024. That card was selling for $500 plus raw. And then in May, about 6 months in, it got to close to $1,000, settled somewhere around $850 or so for a few months. But as of right now, I mean, you're getting $1,700 for that card. And that's the thing, that card it's rare, but it's not like there's only 22 of them like some of these other ones we're talking about.
Here's the crazy thing about Pokemon that I'm noticing with its select cards, this being one of them.
Yeah.
That card has an insane pop count for a PSA 10, closing in on 20,000 for the population, and the value continues to rise. Now, I personally think a lot of it has to do with the artwork.
Okay.
And I think that's another reason why I do not play Pokemon. Mm-hmm. I don't know hardly anything about it, but I love art.
Yeah.
And a lot of these, especially the alternate art cards like this one, mm-hmm. that's art. And so I'll collect it. Absolutely. And again, it's not always about value. It's like, do I like the way it looks? Absolutely. So there you go.
So one of the things with the VMAX Umbreon card specifically, and this is where things will be interesting to talk about too, is where / what are your feelings on the conspiracy theories of like, oh, well, that's just being pumped. That's not actually a popular card. Someone just started a pump of that card and therefore it sells for more than others because they manipulated pricing or they manipulated sales data. And then all of a sudden that's just what it was worth. And that's what everyone else is paying for it.
I had a conversation with a card shop owner, a TCG card shop owner, over this past week when I was on vacation, and picked his brain
Mhm.
on it and actually brought up this particular card, and we talked about it. This is a card that, although yes, you see high values, you don't really see people selling them too much, and that's another reason why those PSA 10s. You look at the amount that are out there,
Mhm.
and then you look at the amount that actually sell.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, people don't buy them. I'm just saying that sometimes you'll get maybe only a handful of them that are actually changing hands, and they're changing hands multiple times. And most of the collectors are buying them and then holding on to them for personal collections.
Okay.
So I can agree with that, and I see that point of view. So I don't feel like this is one of those pumped up cards.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's
I want to mention it because what makes the wheels start to turn and makes you question, and I'll give a reason, a positive reason, not a negative reason why I think this is the case, but it gets the wheels turning when you compare it to, say, okay, this is a non-sport podcast, but let's talk about 2000 Bowman Chrome Tom Brady PSA 10. All right. That card is currently selling somewhere around $7,500. The market cap, which market cap is simply what it sells for versus the pop count. There's like 1,200 PSA 10s. They're selling for around 7,500. So the market cap is a little over $9 million. There's $9 million invested into that card. You take this card, this 2021 Pokemon Sword and Shield Evolving Skies Umbreon VMAX card 215 as a PSA 10. Like you said, there's 14,000 plus PSA 10s out there. And this is selling actually so we talked about the pricing of a raw card as a PSA 10 sells for $2,800. And this is not like something that only gets sold once in a blue moon. There are sales constantly. In fact, the fact that it's $2,800 is something that's recent. Around Christmas, it was selling for about $2,100. Over the last week to 2 weeks, it's been going straight up again. The market cap is $41 million. It's over 4 times what that Tom Brady card goes for. So obviously, it would make sense why people would say, "Oh, that market's not real. It's being pumped or whatever." Because why? How could there be? But what people don't understand is the worldwide phenomena that is Pokemon, and that it's not just for kids, but it's kids and adults. And there are so many people out there that chase the big cards. Like, just look up the news when they came out with the Van Gogh Pikachu card and what happened around that release. It's not to say that there couldn't be market manipulation, because I have a belief that every single card has been manipulated in one way or another, whether it's on a large scale or just some guy shilling his own card on an eBay sale. But this is a case where people, when you look up like most the largest franchises in the world of any collectible, not just cards, but movies or video games or anything like that, Pokemon is at the top of that list. So yes, 41 million seems like a lot of money, and it is, but it could be a real life thing, that the art is so cool. It's very popular. It's newer, but not too elusive to where you couldn't get your hand on it. Maybe it is real, but I for one am not paying that kind of money for that card. I will go ahead and say that, though.
I will kind of add on to this. This card has a sister card releasing in the most recent release that's coming out.
The one that's about to come out?
Yes.
So that
the
is
Umbreon. And
okay.
I think the artwork on that card is amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if it eclipses this one.
You think so?
In this market, anything's possible.
That's fair.
And
that is
I say this because
evolutions.
I happen to start looking just to see, and educate myself a little bit more on it. Pre-sales have been sold out for months, for a while since they came out.
Did you see what it was?
Oh, stupid.
Did you see what it was?
Yes.
All right, tell us what did you see it at?
And just a booster bundle. It's like 6 packs.
Yep. That's not the Elite Trainer
No.
box, which comes with
100.
more, but yeah.
It's $100.
That's what it's going for now?
Yeah, for
or what
pre-orders.
it was. Did you, but before, like, I think even before that, though, they were, I don't know, actually, we can look it up on TCG Player. I'll go there real quick while we're talking about this.
Yeah.
But I know that right now, the Elite Trainer boxes are going in the $500.
Mm-hmm.
That's this Prismatic Evolutions release that comes out on the 17th of January. That is absolutely insane when you consider, like, I've got cases of some of these, the Scarlet and Violet. So again, this is another thing where we got to get into a deeper discussion of like how these sets come out and all this stuff. But when these other Scarlet and Violet iterations came out, I have multiple cases, and I still do. They were coming out for $500 to $600. Like, I have cases in my garage right now of some of the first releases of Scarlet and Violet. Granted, I haven't looked in a year or more to see if pricing has changed, but I can tell you they're not going for what the case of this could be going for. If the box is going for 500 something, a case of them, well, we'll find out. I'll look into it. But yeah, I don't know. It does make me worried, though. Does it concern you at all? Because when you see pricing like that, it just makes me think, okay, well, not only is that going up, but that Umbreon that we were just talking about, that's going up as well. It makes me a little nervous, like, we're getting something odd is going on in this marketplace that doesn't seem natural.
My fear as a collector is that our demand for it will eventually price us out of affordability for our hobby. So I won't shy away from saying that I hope that it does get under control, and that our FOMO does not put it to a point where we can't afford, or the average person can't afford to buy their kids something their kid's going to want. Because, I mean, come on, a child is going to want to get these just as much as a collector like you or me is going to want to get. And again, not a huge Pokemon person, but know plenty of people that are.
Absolutely.
And so
that's the thing. Every time I'm in Sheps, their kids going in there, that's what they want. They want Pokemon. That's what my daughter wants when she goes in there. All right. So I'll stand corrected. So the $500, it looks like that was like a one-off. There are others that have sold for like $380, $250, and that was all today, January 6th. But there's still others. Like right now, if you're on TCG Player, they're selling for like $143. I'm going to tell you, I'm probably going to buy, if I can get it for like $100 or something, I may go ahead and buy it, because the 151, the release of Pokemon 151, which was very popular, that got up to $100. I felt pretty good about that. And that didn't have as nearly as much demand, I think, as this one is coming out. Granted, it had a ton of demand, but yeah, maybe not as much as this. So anyways, that's a little bit, we got sidetracked on our Grail conversation when we started talking about Pokemon, but it is, it's a wide world of non-sports out there. It's a wide world of non-sports. So did I just coin that phrase? I don't think anyone's ever said anything like that. That's the first time. Anyways, we're not going to have a mailbag today. We may have it in the future, but today I did want to save that question to the end, and that'll be our one question of the pod. And feel free, when you guys see this on Instagram or wherever, feel free to add to the discussion. You guys can join the Non-Sport Card Nonsense Facebook group, add the discussion there too. But
I'm in there.
Is wrestling a non-sport card? I am curious, because that is one thing we didn't talk about specifically, because I said don't tell me your answer. What do you think?
I think it's one of those sets that sits on the fence.
Okay.
You know, I mean, do you consider NASCAR sports cards?
Are you asking me, or are you asking the audience? Because I have
both.
Answers.
Both.
My answer, I consider NASCAR to be a sport card, but I also consider WWE to be a sport card.
I consider them both.
You do?
At the end of the day, I consider them both. I mean, there are people that could care less about a driver.
Yep.
But they'll collect the car because they like cars. Pro wrestling, been there,
Yeah.
done that. I've been a fan of it since I was a kid, and I still watch it. I will be watching it tonight.
Monday night on
Yes.
Netflix, Raw.
So, I mean, I collect the cards. I've got some. I've had some good luck recently with some of the Panini product.
Mhm.
I am excited for Topps getting the license back and seeing what they do with it. I would like to see a decent variety of product, but I also don't want to see an overabundance of product.
Sure.
So I mean, they've got what was it? They used to do Undisputed was a nice wrestling product that they did.
Mhm.
Low numbered cards, high quality, high end. I would love to see a dynasty like product for wrestling from
That'd be
Topps.
nice. Yeah, absolutely.
A high end where you're getting number to 10 or less. So, and the good thing about pro wrestling is you not only have current wrestlers, you also get legends, and you can get product for people that are, still with us and still able to sign, which that has the nostalgia factor of it.
Yeah.
So
see, and that is where that appeals to me, is those legends. Cause I'm someone who I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling as a kid. So I only got glimpses of it when I was at school, some kids talking about it. And, there were moments where I'm like, oh man, I really got to find a way to sneak and watch this. It sounded really cool. But even though I would consider it a sport, and I think you would too, there's enough people out there that don't consider it a sport. In fact, we allow posts of wrestling. Sometimes we will limit if there's just too much wrestling posts in the non-sport card group, but we'll still allow wrestling posts in there, because at the end of the day, it is pre-planned, right? It's not to say the winners and losers are predetermined, and therefore is that really a sport if you already know who's going to win beforehand? But
here's the thing, and here's the beauty of it. You and I, as fans, don't really know who's going to win. The only people that know is the people in the ring.
Exactly.
And the guy in the back.
And so that's the thing. My butt is we're not the ones that know any of that.
Exactly.
And therefore, even though it is you have to be strong, you have to be in shape, you have to be sweating all the time. That sounds like very sporty to me. But you flip that coin and you could say, oh, it's scripted. Oh, they have costumes. Oh, they have to put on a show. That sounds like theater to me. So I think it's a good enough mix that we will still be able to consider more of the wrestling genre of non-sport cards on this pod as well. So I'm glad to know that you're into it, so you can be a go-to for our conversations when it comes to that kind of stuff.
As you and I discussed over the phone, I am a jack of many trades, but a master of none. So,
boy, you're in the right place. You are in the right place. We're just guessing at this until
I know absolutely nothing at all. I'm winging it.
Well, there you go, people. That is the first episode of Hobby Nonsense. It's in the books. I'll tell you, I feel a little bit better after being done with it. I was so, like I told you, I was so in my head about wanting to get it perfect or get so many different things crammed into that one first episode, because if it's not in there, then they'll never tune in again. But at the end of the day, I think it was what someone had told me was just have fun with it. And
Absolutely.
I had a lot of fun having this conversation with you in the audience.
I like the idea of a avenue to just talk, have conversations that I would normally have every day with my friends and stuff, and connect to other people. And so if anybody's got any feedback, as in daily life, I welcome it as well. So,
well, I'll tell you, as someone who's a little more accustomed to the social media world, it's a dangerous thing asking for feedback, but I think it's a good thing, because you just have to know, okay, was that person a jerk or very mean in what they said? Possibly the way they said it, but could there be some truth if like a few other people said something similar? So that's where it's like, you have to not get in your own head about it and just realize, oh, okay, maybe they were just trying to help that. But that's only if it's negative. My question would be, will there be any negative critique? I think it's only positive, right? Well,
you realize my last name's Midgette. I can handle something.
We love that midget guy. That Jesse guy would shut up. hate him. All right, there you go. Hobby Nonsense. Our producer, which will remain nameless at this time. Thank you for that, Mr. or Mrs. Producer, whoever you are. And thank you to Michael Midgette for being here and for future episodes that you will be in as well. So, yay. I think so. I think that's the case. All right.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.